What I'd like to say to you is that we have invested a lot of time and money, the people that live here and the federal government itself and the state government. What we have done, what we have accomplished is working. You're running the risk of throwing away that investment that we've created the last 20 years in a year or two. So don't let it happen, please.
The Conservation Reserve Program is important, really, first and foremost, is the increase in wildlife. It's made some farms sustainable, provides others some leverage to be able to expand their operations.
Well, there's a lot of money that people have put forward, and we can't go backwards. We need to keep going forward and protecting these species.
When I grew up, it was seldom you seen any wildlife. Deer were about non-existent. The sage-grouse were non-existent, really. The rabbits, and we see that, and that's important to us.
You've got something that we know is working, so why mess with it? This would be a huge step backwards.
If I don't have a healthy subset out there, I'm out of business.
I can't stress it enough that this is very important.
I absolutely demand it.
Hello, I'm Mike Cuddle Jr., the Farm Bill Coordinator for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're coming to you today from Douglas County, Washington, the core area for the remaining populations of the state-threatened sage-grouse, the state-endangered sharp-tailed grouse, and the federally endangered pygmy rabbit. Douglas County agricultural producers have a history of conserving wildlife habitat through a voluntary and incentive-based manner through the federal Farm Bill. The Conservation Reserve Program, or CRP, has been very popular in Douglas County, with producers enrolling over 187,000 acres in the program to conserve soil, water, and wildlife habitat. CRP provides important wildlife habitat to many species. The State Acres for Wildlife Enhancement, or SAFE program, is an initiative under CRP to develop quality wildlife habitat. SAFE has been very popular in Douglas County. It's our largest SAFE program in Washington State, with producers enrolling nearly 73,000 acres in the program. The 2018 Farm Bill features many elements that encourage natural resources conservation, but there were several changes made to CRP that caused some challenges, particularly here in Douglas County. The biggest change was the elimination of a waiver that allowed producers in Douglas County to enroll more than 25% of the county cropland acreage in CRP. The 2018 Farm Bill also reduced CRP annual rental payments, reduced the incentive payments available under CRP, and eliminated cost share for producers when they go out and they maintain cover on CRP. In addition to these changes mandated in the Farm Bill, USDA elected to move the SAFE program from the continuous CRP sign-up to the general CRP sign-up. This reduces the financial incentives available to producers, and it also makes it harder for producers to enroll in SAFE. Let's talk to several producers here in Douglas County, hear their thoughts about these changes to CRP, and their ideas for how we can address those changes in the future.
I run a farm, it's a business, and I use CRP. Probably my number one reason, to be honest with you, is for risk management. I have probably half of my ground in CRP, and I farm the other half, and it's very comforting to me to know that I'm going to have a certain amount of income coming in. The wildlife benefits. I've seen a lot of wildlife that I'm not used to seeing on a daily basis. I think I see it now just because they have more habitat. They haven't damaged my ability to farm.
Well, it's important to me because it relates to other programs we got within our county. With the CRP, it plays a big important part of that. And if we lose too much of it, we're going to throw us out of compliance in them two programs.
First of all, the benefits for wildlife. We have a lot of threatened and endangered species in our area, like the sage-grouse, sharp-tailed grouse, and the pygmy rabbits. It benefits soil health, increases water infiltration, and reduces wind and water erosion. and there's an economic benefit.
The Conservation Reserve Program is important, really, first and foremost, is the increase in wildlife. In this case, obviously the grouse, but all wildlife in this case. The program came in when I was in high school. I just remember that kind of wildlife was not around at that time. And to see that come back, it's noticeable. And so I think first and foremost, just bringing what's native and natural back to our area.
It generates a lot of cash. I think people are able to update their equipment when they normally wouldn't. For the county itself, I think it's created some great ecological benefits.
I've talked to a lot of people that have been in the business a long time, and they said, once the CRP started and got established where people were getting payments, they would get their money on time. The seed producer would get their money, and as well as machinery dealerships, and same thing, everybody can make their payments.
CRP continues and always has been important to the agricultural economy in North Douglas County.
Yes, very, very much so, because with the way the new farm program is, we're going to lose about 40 to 60,000 acres of CRP within our county. We don't have a bid until maybe 2022, and that's not going to really help. The simple reason we're still going to be out that acreage because they combined CRP and SAFE into one program.
I absolutely demand it. We do have a lot of benefits, and it's not just the economic benefits of it. Literally, when I was growing up as a kid, when come dinner time, our job was to wipe off the table, and by the time we'd finish dinner, there would be so much dust in the house you could see where all the plates and saucers were. It's been kind of a godsend here.
I do support maintaining the extension at 33%. First of all, because it increases the benefits for wildlife and the threatened and endangered species that we have, protects the soil health, stabilizes the surrounding ecosystem, and increases water infiltration. Most of the wells in Douglas County are in the unconfined alluvium, so they rely on annual precipitation for recharge. So anything that contributes to that is probably beneficial. Keeping it at 33% would have no economic impact on the local community. Reducing it will take capital out of the local system.
Now that it's all combined, we're running into issues. I believe very much so that it needs to be over that cap.
The thing is kind of worked against us. The safe acres were kept different from the CRP acres. Now, as you know, it's combined, and that's what threw us over the limit.
Well, I'm in complete support of exceeding the cap. I think Douglas County has always been able to exceed the cap, whatever happened with the legislation and how SAFE got lumped into that. SAFE has been an amazing program because it was geared towards the grouse and what we're trying to do in this area with regard to the grouse and getting them reintroduced and bringing them back to the populations that were here apparently at the time that everybody showed up.
We have put a lot of effort, and it's been the local farmers, with the help of a lot of agencies, sitting there and demanding that we could exceed the cap. The government has put in a lot of time. Agencies have put in a lot of time, and it's working. So why screw it all up and take out 50,000 acres? It makes no sense to me.
Well, we're going to be out of compliance with VSP, with the state government and growth management. Habitat conservation plan will put us, because we're only allowed to lose about 10% of our acreage that we got right now in conservation programs. And if this isn't expanded and get an overlap, we're going to be out of compliance on that. And I don't know of any way we're going to correct that.
I think there would be a lot at risk if we weren't able to go over the cap in this county. There's a lot of money's been put forth into habitat for endangered species such as the grouse, the pygmy rabbits.
Hundreds of acres there that they've delegated for pygmy rabbit habitat, and we border that, and they're having some real successes in the pygmy rabbits coming back. And we do have sage-grouse too. That all the game is just quadrupled since CRP, deer and game birds alike.
I think it's the only thing that's ever really worked. If somebody says, we'd really like to see this happen, and we're willing to give you an incentive, I'm going to look at that and say, well, I did want to put this conservation on, and this will give me the ability to do that.
Conservation is very prevalent because if we lose the wildlife, if I don't have a healthy subset out there, and our old CRP we've risen for pasture, if we don't keep that in healthy thing, I'm out of business.
Even in my time, I'm 37 years old, and I remember going out when I was a kid and hardly ever seeing a deer, whatnot, or definitely any grouse, sage-grouse. And now you can go out pretty regularly and definitely see deer, and at least every other time see a grouse. I've got 2 boys, and I take them out, and it's nice to be able to go and tell them, oh yeah, there's going to be deer up here, there's going to be grouse up here. It's nice to be able to pass that on to them.
Voluntary, incentive-based conservation obviously is what I think North Douglas County is built upon. We have very little federally owned or governmentally owned ground here. And so I think what you find when you have that kind of partnership with the private landowner, you get a lot more caring, a lot more stewardship. And I think that goes to show just how willing everyone is to participate in a program where we all get to work together, really for a simple and common goal, to return some of this to natural habitat and to increase and expand our native grasses and animals. Over 75% of the farms are now no-till in this area. A number of us are moving to a more regenerative agricultural approach where we are attempting to eliminate synthetics and commercial fertilizers and work more with nature as opposed to being against it. And CRP, I think, plays nicely into all of that.
If we don't have predictability of what's going on with the government programs, we can't slate our farming programs and our grazing programs. Farming isn't a 1, 2, or 3-year program. It's a 5 to 10-year program. We are looking out ahead. We have to look that far to justify what we're doing and to keep in the business.
Human impacts are hard on the wildlife and the environment. Anything we can do to mitigate our presence is worthwhile. Predictability can only help planning.
It gives us as a farmer a peace of mind when we go out and work a field, or in the worst case scenario that we do have to mow or harrow some CRP ground for a mid-contract management, that we aren't going to hurt one of these species.
Anytime that we are able to avoid listing of any animal, obviously is going to benefit our ability to utilize our land in agricultural production. And so I think that's why you see so many people and so many producers, landowners waiting at the door and chomping at the bit to participate in these programs. They want to have that control.
We all want to make enough money to farm again next year. But the reason we're out in this place that is fairly desolate is because we love the land and we enjoy it, and it's a good life, and we want to pass that on to our children. I've got 10 grandchildren, and I just had my first great-grandson. And I want them to enjoy this old, desolate, hard country. There's a beauty out here, and they deserve to see it.
First of all, don't regulate us out of business, and we have to keep CRP, and we have to keep it where it is. Because if we take it out, like I said earlier, we'll be out of compliance with VSP. Pay attention to what's going on in the farming community. It's very important that the legislators know that we support them, and that to support them, we have to have programs that we can work with that not put us out of business.
CRP provides valuable wildlife habitat. Douglas County is a unique shrub steppe area that provides habitat to a variety of wildlife, including threatened and endangered species. Washington Fish and Wildlife has indicated that CRP has contributed to the stability of the local sage-grouse population, and that pygmy rabbits are moving from the release sites onto the surrounding CRP. In addition, it builds and protects soil health and the surrounding ecosystem and contributes to the stability of the local economy.
I'd say to the legislature that we need to exceed the limit of the CRP in Douglas County for the reasons listed of economic, for agribusiness, for the merchants in town. By having an annual payment through CRP, it'd help be required. Thank you.
I would like to say I'd for sure appreciate it if they would come out and look at the ground, look at the habitat that we've made with the CRP programs over the past 10, 20 years, and look at all the species out there. It's absolutely amazing to see what we've done, what we've accomplished in the years. I can't stress it enough that it's very important.
Well, if my legislators were in the room, obviously the first thing I would do is offer up a tour. I think just seeing what CRP and SAFE have done in North Douglas County would be worth 1,000 words, and anything that anybody could say in either a 30-second or a 30-hour snippet.
You want to compare and contrast the CRP to our agricultural land. And so obviously you look around and you know, the old timers talk about when they got here that the grass was as tall as the horses' bellies. Looking at the diversity, look at all the things that are flying around out here and probably moving. And the part that we don't see, that we totally just disregard, is what's going on underneath our feet with the soil biology. And so if you were to pull this up and put it under a microscope and compare it to my agricultural lands, which is a monoculture wheat crop, CRP is so important to just introduce some diversity back to our soils.
For us, it has become a way of life to think conservation, and with CRP and SAFE, it's just synonymous. That conversation goes on daily at the coffee shop. We would just hate to see that gone, or see any of this CRP taken back out, partly because some of those grounds probably have run their course from an agricultural standpoint. And we'd hate to see those have to come back into production and possibly be tilled again, where we have wind erosion, rain erosion, everything else.